moving around. Baseline for all of my people moving around. Baseline for all of my people moving around. Moving around. Moving around.
Yeah.
What is up, good people? Welcome to Excellence Personified with Elijah L. Harris. I am him, Mr. Elijah L. Harris himself. Oh man, thank you for taking the time to join me. I absolutely appreciate it. Each and every one of you, each and every time. We'd have made it to another episode. So applaud to you if you've listened to the first 2 or 3 at this point. I've seen some streams start to roll in, so I am grateful. I am thankful. You know, this is a journey for me just as it is for you. So thank you for taking your time to tap in. I'm trying to evolve with my skill a little bit and how I do the show, how I host it, get comfortable. So hopefully, you know, as we progress from episode to episode, it'll start to flow maybe a little bit better, sound a little bit better. I'm trying to get all the kinks out. So go with me with grace. But just know that the point and the purpose is still supposed to land the way that I designed it to. So just know that in advance. Let's try to keep me on track here. We always like to start with checking in. How am I doing? How am I feeling mentally and emotionally on a scale of 1 to 10? How am I feeling? You know, I got to think about how I do this on this show, right? The answer, first of all, I would say is in probably an 8. I feel good. You know, I'm recording right now. It's Friday, so we just made it to the end of another week. Positive, productive week. And, I feel good, you know. But as I was thinking about this and going into recording, you know, I was thinking to myself, like, all right, E, what would it take for you to be a 9 or even a 10? I don't give 10 ratings for just about anything, whether it's food reviews, movie reviews, whatever. I don't really give 10s. And I don't give myself 10s. So I'm like, all right, E, so what would it take for you to be a 10? And I don't know that I know the answer to that. I don't know if I was at a 10, would I know I was at a 10? Like, would I realize it? Would I acknowledge it? Give myself space for it? I don't even really know that. One could argue that like earlier this year when I got, you know, my new job and things were like flying high, like that probably was the closest I've been to a 10 in quite some time. And I had to like deliberately process those feelings. Like, E, you can be happy for yourself, like be proud of yourself, you know, that type of thing. I had to be super intentional about that. So I'm sitting here thinking like, all right, if I'm gonna go on this show every time I record an episode and tell the people how I'm feeling, how I'm thinking, you know, and I'm never gonna say 10, they're gonna be like, all right, what is it gonna take for you to give yourself a 10? So just something I'm gonna keep in mind going forward and just put it all into perspective, I think, for myself and how I kind of check my thoughts and my feelings a little bit. You know, we stable over here, we good, but just something for me to keep in mind. And maybe something for you, maybe something for you to think about, right? Like, do I allow myself space to feel positive or happy in that way to the point where I'm like, because every time somebody asks me like how I'm doing, I think like, all right, so what's going on that would make me not feel good right now? And if I can't think of anything, I'll be like, well, I guess I'm good. But that's a process of elimination thing. That's not a I'm feeling these feelings of positivity or this happiness like consistently and embracing that. That's a different thing. And I'm not sure that I'm really tapped into that. Just being 100 with you, right? So something I'm gonna think about and just keep in mind. And I wanted to touch on that though, just in the spirit of doing this at the beginning of these episodes. Like, I'm actually thinking about this rating that I give myself. It's not just kind of an off the cuff type thing. So again, go with me with grace. All right, so I don't want to belabor that too much. Excellence spotlight, right? Who do I want to highlight? What have I seen? What have I observed? We've got things going on in the world right now. The Democratic National Conference is wrapping up. I think it just wrapped up yesterday as I record. That happened this week. A lot of very powerful speakers, powerful messages being shared. A lot going on in the streets right now, you know, but it was good to see a lot of those people all in the same place and get some of that energy from that. So that's one thing I guess, that's happening right now. Regardless of how you feel about politics, what you think, what you believe, it don't really matter to me. But I did really appreciate, what was being shared at the conference and just getting people on board. All right. I will use this as an opportunity to plug. Make sure that you are registered and get ready to get to the polls this fall because it's going down. Okay. Most of the people that's going to listen to this, I would probably bet money that the vast majority of you are already registered as voters. But if you know some people that aren't, get them and let's get right. You know what I'm saying? So there's that for sure. Where do I actually want to go with this excellent spotlight? It's back to school season. It is back to school season. It is in 100% effect. I haven't talked about her really yet on this show, but I do have a 5-year-old daughter who is embarking on kindergarten as we speak or getting ready to. She's super excited. I'm super excited. Her mama, well, I think she's excited for her to get out the house. But once she starts school, she's going to be emotional. I already know. But anyway, we're excited about it. But I just want to shine some light and rain some positivity, positive energy, prayers, blessings on all the educators that we know that are out here doing the work, right? Elementary school, middle school, high school, college, wherever you fall into the mix. This is an excellent spotlight in advance for you for stepping into your role, doing what the Lord has called you to do for our babies. We need you. We need you on point. For us, for our communities, it all starts there. Like those really formative years for our youth. We absolutely are blessed to have you in those positions. And I just want to shine a light on the work that you're doing and give you that positive energy as you get back into the swing of things with this school year. I have all the respect in the world for educators, anybody that works in a school, works with our youth. I dabble in it a little bit, not in a school, but really just like as a speaker and as an influence. It takes a certain level of human to be able to thrive in that space. And I recognize that. And I just want to shout out all of our teachers, administrators, guidance counselors, all the things for our kids, man. Because we need y'all, and these kids is different these days. I ain't gonna hold you. It's different. So shout out to y'all. All right. What an introduction. Let's get into it. What are we talking about today? We're talking about rebounding with excellence, right? Our first couple episodes, we talked about what excellence is, the fact that you are worthy of that excellence, right? But everything isn't always positive around here and in life. I know, it's no secret. So what happens when things don't go right? Like everything is not sweet. Everything is not kosher. You know what I'm saying? So what happens when things don't go right? My question to you would be, how well do you rebound? Because in my opinion, I think that rebounding is just as important, if not more important, than succeeding in the first place or showing up with excellence in the first place. Things going right or how you intend in the first place. How well you rebound, that says it all. It says it all to how bad you really want to succeed or to reach that pinnacle of whatever you're looking forward to. Not to mention the skill or the level at which you rebound defines your future. You can not rebound at all or rebound poorly, rebound with mediocrity, and derail your future, derail your life, right? Screw off all the rest of the opportunities that might come your way if you don't rebound properly. So it's just as important as scoring or winning in the first place. Okay? And as you think about this, I want you to think about what are some of those resisting things, resisting forces, situations that you have to walk through on a daily basis that press against you and force you to rebound. Think about some of those failures, some of those trials, those tribulations, things that knock you off path, things that trauma that you have to work through and deal with. All of these things require you to rebound, right? But that is the nature of life. It's the nature of shooting our shot, either making it or missing it, and rebounding and going to get the next one, right? But if we're not rebounding properly, then we'll miss all the shots that might come our way. All right. When I think about the idea of rebounding, I really do. I equate it to basketball. I do. I look at the rebound. Obviously, it's recorded as a statistic, but I think it is probably the most important stat recorded in basketball. And it's not because it absolutely transcends the outcome, but in reality it does, or that it's the most, high profile stat or something that really people highly acclaim. But in my opinion, the rebound statistic is a direct reflection of how bad you really want to win the game. How bad do you want to score? How bad do you want to succeed? Because the nature of the game is you get the ball, you come down the court, you pass it around a little bit, you figure out where your best shot is. You take that and you make it or you miss it. And when you make it, you celebrate, you get back on D and do what you got to do to get another shot. Right? But when you miss it, how bad do you really want that ball? Because you can't score, you can't win without the ball. How bad do you really want to win? How bad do you want to score? We think about Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman, if you are unaware of the game of basketball, Dennis Rodman, he's a personality. He come along with a lot. The hair, the tattoos, the personality, all that. But when he stepped on the court, especially, regardless of what jersey he wore, when he stepped on the court, he demanded respect because of how he showed up, how he approached the game. He was a supreme defender. He was a supreme rebounder, right? So he went to the Hall of Fame off the strength of that. It wasn't for scoring. It was for the impact that he had on the game through the effort that he put forth in rebounding. And he got respect for that. He joined the Bulls. He joined, Michael Jordan, some of the greatest teams of all time, because of what he put forth in rebounding. Mike could look at Dennis and be like, you might not can score like me. You're not going to be out on the wing for me to pass you the ball necessarily. But I know that you're going to be in the trenches with me because you can rebound. Right? Think about that picture of Dennis Rodman. And I'll put it in the video, if you're watching this, if I can figure out how to do it. But think about that picture where he is diving horizontally to get the ball because somebody missed a shot. I don't know who took it. Maybe it was him. But somebody missed the ball. The ball's going out of bounds. He dove to get the ball, throw it back in for another opportunity to score. That is excellent rebounding. That is a desire to want to win. That is knowing and understanding that we can't win without this ball. I got to rebound this, right? So to me, the rebound stat is one of the most important stats in the game of basketball, right? So when I equate that to life, I think about it in the way of the rebound is a skill that we have to perfect. We have to work on, harness that craft to be able to bounce back in our own lives. I mentioned at the, towards the beginning, think about some of those things that plague you, that pull you down consistently, or things that have happened in the past that maybe you haven't fully processed. Internally, those things will haunt you. They will go with you, but you have to deliberately and intentionally process those things and rebound to be able to be available for your next shot. Okay? If you want to go with the game of basketball, a poor rebounder is going to get inside of his head. Imagine somebody takes a shot and, you miss or whatever, and the ball is bouncing around, waiting for somebody to go get it. If you're too worried in your head about, well, dang, I done missed a shot, people going to feel some type of way about me. The crowd, they going to reign supreme on me and, be booing and everything. I feel shameful about it, all that stuff. Meanwhile, the ball is bouncing around on the floor waiting for somebody to go get it. They're going to pull you out the game. You can't play like that. How well do you rebound? Go get the ball, right? All right, so let me get off that for a second. Okay. Me personally, I haven't always been the best rebounder. I probably still am not the best rebounder. But at the same time, I understand the value in this skill. And as I talk about rebounding, one thing I do want you to keep in mind is that, as we talked about excellence, excellence is a choice. We have a choice to approach things with excellence. You have a choice. We have a choice to rebound with excellence. That ball bounced around on the court. You have a choice to get your mind right and go after the ball and go get it and rebound, right? In life, we have a choice to understand that in the moment of whatever is going on, whatever is happening, we can pause ourselves and be like, all right, how do I want to approach this? Right? Things are not going well. How do I want to approach this in order to be able to rebound with excellence? When I think about my life personally, I think about the opportunities where I have to rebound the most probably are in my relationships, either with myself or my significant other, or sometimes even my child, or my friends and my family, different things like that. It's oftentimes the same thing, but just in different capacities. And I say this in order to get to a framework that I've kind of built around rebounding, and I'll get to that towards the end. I'll speak for myself. I don't know about you, but in conversations with my significant other, I will find myself in situations where I have either gaslit the situation or minimized her feelings. And this is oftentimes not on purpose. It happens that way and it flows that way. But when things like that happen, I then have to stop and be like, take a deep breath, be like, all right, E, what did you do? What did you say? You know better. Like, you got to backtrack and stop. And then you have an opportunity, a choice. I have an opportunity or a choice to rectify the situation because, again, like I said, I know better at this point. So that's the choice to rebound in that moment with excellence, all while understanding that whatever outcome comes from whatever I just derailed and minimized her feelings and gaslit, the outcome's going to be the outcome. Okay, you can't ignite your excellence in that moment, choose to rebound with excellence, and then be like, I'm going to get all of this back on track without understanding that there's other people involved. Sometimes other people get caught up in the crossfire, and that's an unfortunate situation for you and just a part of the repercussions of that. But at the same time, I have full control of myself in this situation. So I still have to rebound with excellence. And excellence does not mean perfection. So what comes of this is what it is. Sometimes, to an extent, at least as far as the other people are involved. You can't control them. You can control you. So if you gaslight a situation, a conversation in your relationship, be aware of that. Understand it is what it is, but then try to rectify the situation. So for me, I then I got to voice what it is that happened. Show my remorse genuinely and be like, I understand how this makes you feel. I didn't really intend on doing this. Intent doesn't really matter, first of all. Intent doesn't matter. You did what you did. Doesn't matter what you intended, but acknowledge how she feels or how they feel in the moment, and and show some sympathy, show some empathy for that. And then at that point, you can try to proceed with the conversation if they are still open to it, or you're going to have to maybe take a step away, give it some time, let it breathe, and come back to it later if there is space for it. Now, if you really light a situation on fire and there's no coming back from it, that's again, it presents a different situation, different environment. You still have to rebound with excellence because that is your choice, your responsibility as an individual. And you can't rebound for anybody else. You can only rebound for you. But then you again have to reassess your situation, figure out what it requires, and then move forward with it. I will insert this piece too, because I don't want this to get overlooked. Sometimes in these situations, rebounding requires removing yourself from the situation. Whatever the situation might be, even if it's professionally, something happens at work, either with a colleague or something that you've done poorly, like acknowledge it, embrace what it is. The situation is what it is. Maybe you need to take a second to pull yourself out that environment in order to assess what's going on and pull yourself back together. And then you can approach the other person or approach the situation and be able to rebound with excellence. And I'm saying all these things to get to a point in the end of what that framework looks like. I'm gonna tell one other story about me. I will get back to sports for a second here, but something that I went through when I was in high school, which in the grand scheme of things is not that big a deal. But I went through this in high school, and I ran track in high school, and among other sports, but I ran track in high school, and I was a hurdler, and I wasn't the best hurdler in the county, even on my team. Shout out to Purcell. He was rocking and rolling, state champion and all. But I was decent. I was around, made a name for myself. But the 300 hurdles for me was kind of my baby. That was my race. Probably when I first started hurdling in my sophomore year, I was probably the worst hurdler in the county. Between the short hurdles and the long hurdles, I was probably the worst hurdler in the county. And I would stamp that, real talk. But I grew, I got stronger, I got faster over the next few years. And by my senior year, my junior year, I made some strides for sure. But by my senior year, I had really kind of made a name and established myself as a force within the hurdle space. And I was proud of that, right? So I started to, actually place and, win some things and stuff. I was blessed and able to get to the state meet that year in the 300 hurdles. And so among a couple other races, I actually made it in 3 events that year, so that was a big deal for me. Like that was my Super Bowl for track. Like, everything really came to fruition that year for me, in terms of all the work that I put in and being able to get to that point. So we get to states, fast forward, we get to states my senior year, and we go into my race for 300 hurdles. And it's really a one and done. It's like, this is the final, basically. It's a time final between 2 heats, and I'm in the fast heat, So I'm going to go off, I'm running, and there's 8 hurdles in this race from start to finish. And, I'm in lane 1, actually. I come around the curve, I'm doing my best. I think I'm in 4th or 5th coming down the home stretch, towards the end. And on hurdle 7 out of 8, I clip the hurdle and I fall, right? And I fall, and you paint the picture for me. This is in Morgan State University Stadium, Hughes Stadium, I believe it's called. And everybody's watching. Everybody's watching, family, friends, team in the stands, all the whole state, basically. Everybody's watching. I'm in lane 1, I fall. And in that moment, I have an opportunity. I have a choice to make. I'm laying on the track. This is a pretty bad fall. Like I skid, my shoulder was messed up. I landed on my chest, on my hip. It was rough. I don't know what it looked like, but it felt bad. And so I have a choice in that moment. I'm on the ground and I look up and I see a whole bunch of people running by me. And in that moment, I decided to get up and step off the track. I stepped off the track, and now when you look back on those results, it's like nothing ever happened. I never ran. I made it, sure, but I had nothing to show for it. In hindsight, that was probably the worst thing I could do in that moment, just because of what it signified. But that was what I chose to do in that moment. Did I rebound with excellence? Nah, definitely not. I chose to get up, walk off the track, shame myself, pity myself, do all that mentally, be mad, and end up with nothing. Meanwhile, falling and getting up in a hurdle race, that's a part of the race. And in reality, it is. But to me, I'm like, I done all this. I done got to this point. I'm in this stadium, and I choose to fall at the end of the race in my state meet. All these people watching. Man, F all this. I'm gonna just walk off the track. And I don't know what I would have done if I wasn't in lane 1. That was the easy way out. I'm right next to the inside of the track. Man, bump this, I'm gone. Walked off the track, and I didn't finish. I don't have a time. You can look it up. DNF. Now, what I did after that, I walked off. I'm on the inside of the turf. The race ends. I walk off the track. And if you've been in that stadium, you know, and if you haven't, you know, there's the concession stand and you know, the bathrooms. There's a building right outside the gate where the track is, and I walk off the track through the gate, and I just go sit down on the ground. I don't go back to the stands. I don't stretch. I don't cool down. I just sit on the ground. I'm huffing and puffing. I'm mad, and I'm just sitting and watching the track because other things are happening. I'm just sitting there, like just staring off into the distance. I think my mind kind of left my body in a sense. Like I said, I made it to this meet in 3 events. So, you know, the hurdles was my first event. I done fell and didn't finish. I have triple jump a little while after that. I didn't warm up for that. I got my stuff and I went directly to triple jump. And and I had the 4x4 later that day, I believe, or maybe the next day, I don't know. But anyway, I go to triple jump, and like I said, I didn't cool down or warm up for anything. I just pulled up and was like, all right, I'm here. And I made one jump, and I marked something. And then my next jump, I go off the board, and something pops, and it's my hip. I tear my hip flexor in that moment. And so then I go like hopping through the sand, and I can't walk. Like I couldn't move. Hip flexor's torn. Then I got to go to the hospital. Man, listen, I'm telling this story to illuminate what it looks like not to rebound with excellence, like what it looks like and feels like not to rebound with excellence, and the repercussions of that. Like I said, it was a mindset thing. I could have, in that moment when I fell on that track, I didn't have to go to you're trash. You don't deserve to finish. You know, forget this race. The shame, the pity, the all of that. That was a choice. Walking off the track was a choice. And ultimately, in that culmination of that moment, that led to nothing. All the work that I put in led to nothing. And on top of that, I had other things. So like I said, I was blessed to get to that point, to that meet, in 3 events. Rebounding with excellence in that opportunity would have allowed me to maybe finish much better than I started. I think our 4x4 could have placed that year, if I'm not mistaken. You know, that was an opportunity for me to just shine and have fun. Do the best that I could. But I didn't rebound with excellence. And on top of that, I hurt my body, and then I couldn't rebound with excellence. At least in that moment, at least physically. So, and that stuck with me. I'm not gonna carry this story too long, but that stuck with me. That whole experience stuck with me. Going into college, I was like, look, I gotta get revenge. Like, this is not it. So I ended up running track in college, partly because I didn't like how my high school career ended. So I wanted to ultimately rebound with excellence, and I was ultimately able to do that. But that moment really kind of signifies for me like what it looks like, what it can feel like if you're not in that right headspace. You know, maybe you have been through certain things and you understand, like, all right, you can look back on it now and be like, I probably didn't rebound with excellence. In that moment, probably not. You know, but you can also at the same time look back and be like, because I didn't, this is what happens. And it becomes a ripple effect. Becomes a ripple effect. And at the end of the day, how do you win? How do you reposition yourself for success if you're not able to rebound? It will derail your future. And you may not know or understand how or what it's going to look like, but it will, one way or another. And maybe it just comes down to the time that you lose or that you waste while you're running around, you know, in your mind, feeling like you're not worthy of being able to rebound or get back on track or worthy of that success. You're worthy of it all. And the skill that you put towards rebounding is just as important as winning in the first place. All right. So what are the 3 steps to rebounding? As I thought about it, it really is mental. First and foremost, it is mental. Absolutely. All right. So the 3 steps that I've identified to rebounding is, number 1, reset yourself. Okay. I mentioned that maybe you might have to pull yourself out of a situation or just stop or pause wherever you are, reset yourself, because whatever you've done at this point has taken you somewhere that maybe you really didn't want to be, didn't intend on being. So you need to reset yourself, whether it's physically, emotionally, or mentally. Reset yourself back to ground zero. Reframe your mind. So reset yourself is number one. Number two, reframe your mind. Okay, I mentioned that rebounding is highly mental. Reframe your mind, meaning, although I failed, although things did not go the way I had planned, it is okay. I am still fully capable of doing whatever it is that I had intended on doing in the first place. I can still get there. We can still do this thing. Reframe your mind. Okay? Reset yourself. Center yourself back to ground zero. Reframe your mind. I can move forward. I can make things happen still, even though it didn't work out in the first place. It's okay. Okay? Maybe reframing your mind, a part of that is identifying the things that need to happen now as you step into rebounding. Reframe your mind. I need to, so I fall on the track. Get you on the ground, reset yourself. All right, I can get up and I can finish. Reframe your mind. I can get up and I can finish. I have one more hurdle. Hurdle 8, run past the line. Reframe your mind. Okay? These people at work, these people out in the community, your family, your friends, they will knock you off track. Things will happen. Reframe your mind. My family, I still love them. They done pissed me off, but I still love them. Reframe your mind. And then number 3, restart your actions. Once you reframe your mind and understand, like, I'm in a position to succeed still, and even if I'm not in a position to succeed still, I can still move forward with what I need to do as an individual. As best that I can in this situation, in this environment, I can move forward. Identify what those actions are, and then you got to get back to it. Restart your actions. All right. And although I've broken them down into 3 steps, sometimes these steps happen one after the other. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. It depends on the situation. In the game of basketball, for example, the shot goes up. These are split-second decisions. You miss, I'm going to go get it or I'm not. And, that's the mindset and the action kind of all at once. But sometimes, it takes some time to be able to rebound with excellence. Grief is not kind to the heart. Oftentimes it's not. It is tough to walk through, tough to process mentally and emotionally. But at the end of the day, how you process that grief can define your future. And it comes down to, again, the framework of rebounding with excellence as best you can, depending on what that looks like or feels like for you. It's the same thing, right? And no matter what you have done or what the situation is that you're in, as long as you are or we are alive and breathing, we have an opportunity to rebound. We do. Even if we get injured, we're paralyzed, we're bedridden, we're going through, unspeakable health issues and concerns, it will reposition you. It will put you in a position that you did not intend on being in. But at the end of the day, you can reset yourself in that space. Reframe your mind to be able to walk forward. Man, I wish I had the information right now. There is a young lady who I used to work with who is battling a very rare disease. It's debilitating. She has history of it in her family. She was hoping that she wouldn't have it. She found out that she does. She is walking through that right now. But it's so amazing to be able to see her speak to that on social media, show some vulnerability, give other people insight to what she's experiencing and dealing with, but walk through it with grace. And again, I apologize. I do not know the name of that disease or condition of what it's called, but it's debilitating. But she's being vulnerable and showing us the process of how she's rebounding with excellence in it. It's a beautiful thing to see. It really is. And like I said, those are the things that define your future. Man, I really want you to get that. That's the point that I want you to take away from this most. Rebounding with excellence, that skill, it defines your future. It lights the path for your future. Okay? It is super simple, and I want to drive it home because it is so important. It really is super simple, but executing it isn't always easy, but it is just as important. So as we wrap this episode, I definitely want you to take away the framework, but I also want you to know that no matter what you are going through right now, you have the ability, you are worthy of being able to rebound with excellence in this moment. Figure out what is called for you right now, what excellence looks like to you, what rebounding looks like to you. Reset yourself, reframe your mind, and restart your actions. Start to move forward. Okay, you don't have to take all the steps all right now, one after the other, but start moving in that direction. You have the ability, and I love to see examples and moments of excellence, especially if it requires you to rebound. So, if you have any examples of things that you have rebounded from in the past, things you are rebounding from currently, let me know. I would love to be able to celebrate with you things that you've overcome in the past or are overcoming currently. Let me know. This is not to shine a light on any of your trials and tribulations that you don't want to. Don't tell me all your business unless you want to. It's fine with me too. But let me know if you are recovering or rebounding from something. I would love to celebrate with you. All right. We done got another episode off my chest, boy. All right. Let me get off this jump. Y'all have a great day, a great weekend, wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this. Until next time, peace, love, and joy.
Moving around, yeah.